was now that Dirk Bogarde made his big decision. The sort of parts he wanted to play in England were simply not coming forward. But he was receiving offers from the continent, where they seemed to be able to make more interesting films. So, he decided to live there.
Visconti heard I was in Rome by some alchemy, and sent me an enormous script the size of the A-K, and it was called Gotterdammerung. And it was as boring as the A-K, I might say, too. And he said, "This is for you and Vanessa Redgrave." And I said on the telephone, "What is it?" And he said, "Well, it's Macbeth. In modern dress, 1930, in Germany, at the end of the Hitler regime, just before the war. In fact, it's about the Krupp family. You'll enjoy it." Well, I didn't. I hated it, and so did Vanessa. So we didn't do it. But many, many moons later, a different script came, and I did finally do that with Ingrid Thulin, and it was very exciting.
Here's a scene from it. The Damned, 1970, directed by Luchino Visconti.
I assume total responsibility not only of the steelworks, but of this entire family. And therefore I intend to stop this habit of taking liberties.
Excuse me, Friedrich. You don't mean to include me amongst your subjects. I'm simply a guest.
Oh, no, Jack hasn't. I wouldn't dare. But if you're a little patient, you can. Excuse me. I haven't finished yet.
They're not problems which concern me.
They concern you because you live in this house.
I didn't ask to stay. And I won't stay very much longer.
I order you! Get back into your place!
And there was no one in the room at all. The whole ruddy cast had been caught by fog from all over Europe. It was Monday morning, and I was the only person there.
Charlotte Rampling, who was also in that film, is alas not here tonight, but she was anxious to give you a message.
Hello, Dirk. I'm so disappointed not to be with you tonight in person. I'm sorry. From the moment we met, almost 20 years ago, in Rome on the set of Luchino Visconti's The Damned, you've been a lasting influence in my career and my life. After The Damned, you managed to convince the somewhat nervous producer to take on an almost unknown actress to star opposite you in The Night Porter, a powerful and disturbing film directed by an Italian woman, Liliana Cavani. The story, for those who may not have seen the film, begins with a relationship between a 16-year-old girl and an SS officer in a Nazi concentration camp. It's based on a true story. 10 years later, the girl, now married to a conductor, meets again, by chance, the SS officer in a hotel in Vienna where he's working as a night porter. The old passion is rekindled, and it will eventually end up destroying them both. I was born after the war, and like many of my generation, I have a very vague idea of what happened really in those death camps. You had witnessed the horrors of Belsen, and at times, while filming those scenes in the camp, they became unnervingly real. But you opened my eyes towards an understanding of that dreadful era, and from there to discovering the truth of my role. Your sensitivity and generosity as an actor and a friend are unique, and I shall always cherish those extraordinary moments we shared while filming The Night Porter and The Damned, and the many moments we've shared together since then. Thank you, Dirk, very much.
So surprising what a fuss that silly little film caused, The Night Porter. It was based on a true story, as Charlotte said. She and I, Liliana Cavani, were both under a sentence of arrest for obscenity if we set foot in Italy. The French banned us, we were banned in Britain, we were banned all over the place. But suddenly the highest judge in Milan went to see the film for some extraordinary reason. I think Lily pulled some ropes. Not strings, but ropes. And he said it was a masterpiece. Well, you can't be arrested for being in a masterpiece. So we were all saved.
Dirk Bogarde was to spend 18 years living in France, in a converted shepherd's house near Grasse. Besides Visconti and Cavani, he made films for Henri Verneuil, Alain Resnais, and Fassbinder. In 1981, he went back to Hollywood to make a TV film, The Patricia Neal Story. He played Roald Dahl, and opposite him was Glenda Jackson.
Miss Jackson. I'd never met Miss Jackson until I got to Hollywood. She came off, I was there 3 days before she won. She came off on a very hurried flight from the UK, anguished in agony, to find me saying to her, Miss Jackson, the film's not going to go. It's 3 weeks too long. So we spent the rest of our week, didn't we? Putting yellow and green pages in and cutting the script to pieces. What we tried to do, a pair of us, was to defend the honour of Roald Dahl and Patricia Neal from the horrors of Hollywood. That's what we were doing.
And it was made all the easier for me because I was working with you. That was really the clincher for me in doing that film. And it is one of the wisest decisions I've ever made, because I had the great privilege of working with you as an actor, and I sometimes think the even greater privilege of keeping you as a friend.
Myself after the baby wouldn't be fair. I don't know how. So dumb. Can't kill myself.
That's the only thing that's stopping you. Your problems are solved. Go down to the kitchen, lots of sharp knives there. They do that fine. My razor blades. Go and use my razor blades. Or let's go to the garage. Why don't you go to the garage, shut the bloody doors, lock yourself in there, turn on the engine of the car. There's nothing to it. Nothing.
I can't stand it. It's too much. Evil, evil, evil. Why didn't you let me die?
Dirk Bogarde has now come back to live in London after his years away from Britain. He has, with great success, launched himself into an entirely new career as an author, having in the last 10 years written 4 volumes of autobiography and 3 novels. He also recently adapted for television a story of Graham Greene's and played in it himself. May We Borrow Your Husband?
They are such an awful strain, these occasions. Weddings, marriages. You're pulled out of perfectly ordinary life and then dumped together after a costly and elaborate ceremony without knowing very much about each other, any more than, well, riding or house parties and that sort of stuff. It's so stupid. It's like putting a couple of animals into a cage who've never even seen each other.
And now that he's seen me, he doesn't much like me.
Oh, rubbish.
You've already said that once.
The young actress with Dirk Bogarde was Charlotte Attenborough.
Hello, my love. Brave, brave girl.
Your Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen, I feel very honoured to be part of this evening. I believe that as actors we tend to be preoccupied and concentrating on creating our own performances. But the first thing that struck me about Dirk is that his energy as an actor seems to be focused on giving to others. And in this case, to me, I was a complete newcomer to the world of film acting. But he gave me everything I needed to play that part. I only had to look up at him, and he would take me into the world of our characters. And he showed me a level of concentration where everything around us completely disappeared. And we were playing it for real. And oh, for the memory of what that felt like, I shall be grateful to him for the rest of my life. Thank you, Dirk.
In a moment, Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal will present the tribute award. But for the time being, I'd like to bring you back to the second film you made with Visconti, which many people think was the best performance you ever gave. Death in Venice. From Thomas Mann's book, where you played the dying composer Gustav von Aschenbach, very much based on Mahler.
Very much based on Mahler, indeed, according to Luchino Visconti. He had it for fact. There are so many stories to tell about Death in Venice. I've only seen it once in my life. I daren't go and see it again. It will never live up to the reviews. But one, I've told so many of them, one that is really quite funny and is very typical of our profession, is that it had to be shot, the death scene, which you're going to see, had to be shot on a particular day when the sirocco was blowing. That's that funny grey light, terribly hot. So it was done. I was made up. It took 4 hours to put on. I couldn't move. I had to breathe through straws. Carried into on a chair to the beach and so on. When I got there, I had to signal with one hand what was yes and no. And the assistant director came up and said, you understand what's happening? And I said, yeah, well, and he said, well, here, and he brought out 3 pieces of bamboo. And he said, this piece, and he stuck it in the sand near me, this is where Tadzio and the boy meet. Yeah? You got that? They meet here. Then he went into a little bit further down the beach, and he said, this is where the big battaglia, the fighting, here, yeah? And he put the 2nd stick in. And he got the 3rd stick and he rolled up his trousers, he went into the Adriatic and he stuck it into the sea. And he said, here is Tadzio saying, come to God, God wants you. This, okay? You put up your hand when is for right for turning. That's how we did the death scene in Death in Venice. I never saw the bloody children. And it was done in 1 take, because it had to be. But all I did see was Visconti sitting with the entire tut Roma, tut Milano, tut Torino, all his smart friends, under their umbrellas, drinking champagne, watching me die. Here we go.
President of the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, Her Royal Highness, the Princess Royal.
Fellow members of the Academy, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining BAFTA for this memorable evening. tonight, the Academy, along with Shell UK, are inaugurating this new annual award, which is dedicated to honouring those Britons who have made outstanding contributions to the world of cinema. And as we have been reminded this evening, the first recipient of this tribute award is an excellent example of those aims. It is entirely appropriate that the original tribute award should go to an actor of such distinction as Dirk Bogarde, and I am now delighted to present him with his award, the Tribute Award.
Your Royal Highness, members of the Academy, and all of you who have given me such a splendid evening, remember one thing. This kind of achievement is not done alone. You've got to have wardrobe, hairdressing, makeup. You've got to have the chippies, the sparks, and everybody else. And you've got to have your other actors, and your director, and your producer. You're not alone. It's a busy job. And that's why I'm here. Because of them, because of you. Thank you.